Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Businessman Atong Ang has denied accusations linking him to the case of the missing Sabongeros and said he will be filing legal cases against alias Totoy for making the allegations.
Manila Mayor Isko Moreno cracks down on rule breakers upon his return to Manila. He starts off with imposing a strict curfew.
Senator Risa Ontiveros has formally filed a complaint against former witness alias Rene, who accused her of bribery and coercion.
Environmental groups lauded the Supreme Court's decision to issue a writ of kalikasan, which seeks to stop the construction of the Davao-Samal Connector Bridge.
First in the news, just 2 days into his return as Manila Mayor, Isko Moreno is laying down the law, starting with the strict curfew for minors and a crackdown on rule breakers. Here's the report.
Manila Mayor Isko Moreno is cracking down on rule breakers just 2 days into his term, starting a new strict curfew for minors. The city government will enforce a curfew from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. for all minors. Moreno says this is a part of broader efforts to restore order and safety on Manila streets.
Ang enforcement unit ay pulis. Pero ang katulong ng pulis ay ang Manila Social Welfare Development through Director J. De La Puente. I-implement na po ang curfew sa Maynila. I hope, medyo tulog na lang kayo, lalaki pa kayo.
Security is also being tightened along Mel Lopez Boulevard, where multiple cases of robbery and traffic accidents have been reported. Moreno also issued a stern warning to reckless riders after witnessing a pedestrian get hit by a motorcycle that failed to slow down at a pedestrian lane in Legarda, corner San Rafael. He personally confronted the riders in the area, urging them to follow traffic laws and respect crosswalks, saying that he will not spare violators. On cleanup operations, the mayor claims 60% of Manila's garbage crisis has been addressed, with major clearing done in Arten and Carriedo. Earlier, he revealed the city government owes over 950 million pesos to garbage contractors and is facing over 10 billion pesos in total payables. Moreno says he plans to file charges over alleged misuse of city funds by previous administration, which he blames for Manila's financial woes. The city also plans to formally request Meta to recover control of the Manila Public Information Office's Facebook page, which remains unturned over.
Now with us today is Manila Vice Mayor Chi Atienza, joining us via Zoom. Good morning, Vice Mayor. Thank you for joining us again here on News and Views. Nakamute.
Good morning.
There you go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, first and foremost, congratulations. And yeah, how's your third day in office going so far, Vice Mayor?
Well, sa totoo lang, kagaya nga ni Yorme na bilis kilos, ako rin nagbilis kilos dito. Although medyo mahirap po kasi ang pinagdaanan ko rin lalo na on the first day na ako ay pumasok dito dahil iniwanan po ako ng opisina na walang laman. So pagpasok ko dito, kailangan ko kunin yung dining table sa bahay namin para kahit pa paano meron ako.
May laman. Yeah. Actually,
otherwise, wala ako kahit laman dito.
Actually, we saw also on social media, no, yung Facebook ni Yorme, nakita namin yung wala ding laman yung kanyang opisina. So, can you give us a picture here na meron bang nagkaroon ba ng proper turnover from the past administration para sa inyo?
Well, pinayagan naman po nung dating si Alcalde na silipin ko ang kanyang opisina. Ngunit nung kami ay nag-try mag-contact para makalipat ako dito ahead of time, ang sinabi nga rin po is pareho rin po nung kay Yorme na 12 o'clock ng June 30, doon lang kami nakapasok ng gamit at nakapaglinis. Although kasi ang naging challenge doon, ang oath-taking namin was at 2 p.m. that same day. And alam naman natin na syempre, kailangan pa rin maglinis ng kwarto and all. So medyo nahilo po ako ng konti. Up to now, third day na po to, pero hilo pa rin po ako dahil on top of that, meron rin po kami mga inaayos na mga ordinansa at resolution na kailangan namin ipasa para kahit papaano makasuporta kami dun sa call ni Yorme na paganahin ng gobyerno dito sa Maynila. Alam nyo, sa totoo lang, nung inaugural session, supposedly ceremony lang yun, but then kami with the City Council, gumawa na kami, nag-regular session na kami at natapos na namin yung mga priority bills ni Yorme para mabilis siyang makakilos rin dito sa Maynila.
Okay, Vice, let's start off yung yung nasa balita din na of course yung pag-re-implement ng curfew hours para sa mga minors. Ngayon, ang question dito is ano ba ang nakita nyo ni Mayor Isko Moreno that prompted you to re-implement nga this curfew? May nakita ba kayong pagtaas ng krimen with regards to mga minors?
Well, kasi alam nyo, ano yan ni Yorme, gustong mangyari yan ni Yorme dahil yes, bago kami pumasok dito in office, medyo marami nga pong mga illegal activities and at the same time, mga bagay na kailangan ayusin. Kaya ang inisip niya talaga is to prioritize na igawin nga yung curfew. But tama naman yung sinabi niya dun sa pinakita kanina na mga bata dapat nagpapahinga para sila lumalaki. But yun.
And also, during yung inauguration nyo, nagkaroon din ng parang presentation ng mga gagawin dyan sa Manila, si Yorme. At kasama na nga dun yung mga financial condition of the city, particularly yung mga unpaid obligations at saka yung may mga certain personalities or officials po tayo na nakalagay doon na may mga certain disbursement, if I'm not mistaken. Can you give us a picture of what happened there po?
Well, napanood naman ng maraming Manileño yung nangyari sa State of the City address ni Yorme. In-isolate niya yung mga tao, pinakita niya yung mga tao dun sa mga nawalang mga pera ng Maynila. And nakakalungkot kasi nga 11 billion po ang unpaid obligations na iniwan po ng past administration na kailangan kami ang gumawa ng paraan para mabayaran. Kaya to be honest, paralisado po ang aming administrasyon ngayon sa aming pagpasok. But then again, with the leadership of Yorme, I know and I believe we will find a way to go around and to be able to overcome this challenge.
And given of course yung problem nyo sa budget and everything else, ano yung mga specific goals na pwede nyong gawin o mga programa na pwede i-prioritize na while you're recovering yung budget nga na you're still auditing, at least man lang you get the ball rolling with these projects?
Well, alam nyo, kasi before we really do any program, alam naman natin kailangan ng suporta yan pagdating sa resources. So kaya nga ang ginawa ng City Council with me right after the inaugural session is pinasa po natin ang general tax amnesty para lahat ng mga negosyo dito sa Maynila ay gumana na muli. Dahil alam naman natin na kailangan stimulated at kailangan lumalaki at gumagalaw ang mga negosyo sa isang lungsod para kahit papaano makagalaw ang mga kailangan pagalawin dito sa gobyerno. Kaya yan po ang ginawa natin on the first day in office kasama ng City Council. Pinasa natin ang ordinansa regarding the general tax amnesty and at the same time, dineclare natin ng Manila to be under state of public health emergency para maayos rin natin ang issue regarding sa basura. On my end, for me, my priority really is to first and foremost support the call of Yorme para makagalaw siya. Kasi ang trabaho ko po ay Vice Mayor at the same time presiding officer. Kaya susuportahan natin siya when it comes to the ordinances and resolutions that he will need para makagalaw ang local chief executive natin. But ako naman, personally, given ang battle cry ko talaga, since the start ay tayuan ang mga sektor ng lipunan na para sa akin kailangan mapakinggan. So ang next na step for me would be to talk to different mga sectors for me to really know and understand in full depth ano ba ang mga support na kailangan nilang gawin, kailangan namin gawin para maramdaman nila na nandito ang gobyerno para sa kanila. I mean, Rome was not built in a day. We cannot fix problems right away.
Right.
But sabi nga ni Yorme, unti-unti, dahan-dahan, may magagawa rin tayo. But for the meantime, since kakatapos ng transition, marami kaming inaayos pa sobra dito. But lumalaban naman. Kaya nga, days na akong wala pong tulog. Kung si Yorme po nakikita nyo sa kalsada, ako naman 3 days na nag-aaral ng mga ordinansa, mga resolution na kailangan namin ipasa with the City Council para masuportahan ng Paul ni Yorme na paganahin na ang gobyerno.
Right, right. And we all know naman, Vice Mayor, yung the work that you put into during the campaign as well. We've seen it in the reports, yung mga advocacies mo din sa mga kababaihan dyan sa Manila. But I was wondering po, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave as a Vice Mayor of Manila? Given na this is your first po, no, na as a Vice Mayor there.
Well, alam nyo, ang mga tao na sa gobyerno, kami mga lingkod bayan. Ngunit on my end, I want to be known as a lingkod bayani. I would like to put missionary work in government. Ang gusto ko pong mangyari is to leave a legacy wherein ang mga ordinansa at mga resolution na gagawin natin ay result-oriented, na kung saan ang bago ito gawin, talagang kumonsulta tayo sa mga taong bayan, at pagkatapos natin ipasa mga ordinansa at resolusyon, bababa tayo sa mismong mga sektor o mga taong bayan na apektado ng mga resolusyon at ordinansa gagawin natin, and we will make sure na napabuti ang buhay nila dahil sa mga ordinansa at resolusyon na aming ipapasa. Yan po ang gusto kong legacy pagdating sa pagiging Vice Mayor. But on pagiging presiding officer naman, ang legacy kong gustong gawin is to, gusto ko i-entice ang ating lahat ng mga konsehal to up to their very core on as to why they are there, and I want them to be able to create and draft resolutions and ordinances that para sa kanila magiging legacy rin nila. Alam nyo, nung panahon ng kampanya, ang tawag po sa akin kasi liwanag ng Maynila. But ang sinabi ko, hindi naman ako magpapaliwanag ng Maynila. All I will do is to encourage and to inspire each and every leader that are under me to go back to their very core, as to their essence on bakit sila nandun. Kasi naniniwala ako, pagka lahat ng mga leaders, lahat ng mga konsehal, ma-inspired to create ordinances and resolutions na talagang nakaangkla sa pangangailangan ng kanilang mga sinasakupan, magliliwanag ang Maynila. Right. Dahil inspired lahat at tulong-tulong ang lahat.
Alright, we are one with you in making, in the hopes na maging mas maayos ang Manila ngayon in your administration with Manila Mayor Isko Moreno. For the meantime, we'll be keeping in touch with you, with other issues dyan sa Manila. In the meantime, maraming salamat sa iyong oras, Manila Vice Mayor Chi Atienza.
Salamat rin sa inyo.
So, ang daming local officers ng officials ng local governments this week hit the ground running. To address a lot of issues. Not only Manila, may Quezon City, lahat. Major cities within the metro that need a lot of upgrading.
Yes.
But then again, as the weeks go on, we will see kung ano yung updates ng ibang mga officials. We'd like to get to see ano yung mga programa din. Very interesting kasi to see their programs. But in the meantime,
yeah, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. Now, alias Totoy has come forward publicly pointing to businessman Atong Ang as one of the masterminds in the missing Sabongeros case. Ang, however, denies the allegations and fired back with plans to sue. Here's the report.
Alias Totoy, now identified as Julie Dondon Patidongan, has come forward in public. Patidongan, one of the accused in the case involving 34 missing Sabongeros, earlier claimed the victims' bodies were dumped in Taal Lake. He named 3 alleged masterminds behind the 2021 disappearances: the Game Master of the World Pitmasters Cup, a known engineer of the WPC, and WPC owner Charlie Atong Ang. He claims he once worked closely with Ang, serving as head of security at the Manila Arena and managing his farms. Patidongan said Ang panicked after learning he was the key to it all. He alleges Ang offered him $500 million pesos to withdraw his statements.
Mr. Atong Ang, magpakatotoo ka naman. Huwag mo naman ako gawing sinungaling. Binaliktad mo ang lahat. Kinabahan na yan dahil alam niya na Ako ang susi ng lahat at siya ang may kagagawa ng lahat.
He also mentioned a female celebrity close to Ang, saying she knew all his secrets.
Kasama yan sila lagi. Alam lahat ng sekreto ni Mr. Atong Ang.
But Ang's camp denies the claims. In an exclusive interview with News 5, his lawyer, Attorney Lorna Kapunan, accused Patidongan of trying to extort 300 million pesos from Ang in exchange for silence. They plan to file charges of extortion, attempted robbery, and attempted homicide.
Sabi nga nila, bakit wala pang ini-issue na affidavit? Ang totoo dyan, wala pa siyang ini-issue na affidavit pointing to these alleged perpetrators because umiikot siya. Cheryl, umiikot siya and extorting money from those who he says or he threatens to name. That is why Sir Atong Ang is coming forward in his attempt to bring out the truth.
Paano nangyari yung extortion? Nagkita ba sila? Nag-usap ba sila?
We have evidence. We will show in due course, no, in the case that we are going to file, the exchange of evidence, the exchange of text to attest, to affirm the extortions.
Patidongan, however, challenged Ang's camp to present their evidence.
Handa kong harapin dahil kilalang-kilala ko yan. Magaling gumawa ng kwento yan. Ilabas niya ang ebidensya kung totoong nag-extort ako sa kanya at ano ang kanyang basihan.
Despite the controversy, some relatives of missing cockfighters stand by Patidongan's claims.
Nung bandang mga nawawala pa, siyempre nag-grupo-grupo kami. Siyempre nag-uusap, meron po kami naririnig na ito ay right hand ng mastermind, ito po ay ganito, ganyan. So, nung lumutang, parang hindi na rin kami nagtaka.
Before his public statements, NAPOLCOM Vice Chair Victor Calinisan told One News's Morning Matters that they were still waiting for Patidongan's affidavit. The commission is investigating Patidongan's claims that several police officers were involved in the case.
Without the complete affidavit of Totoy, it's going to be an uphill climb. I think this is his way of seeking justice, not just for himself, but also to seek justice for those who have been victimized by this crime. I can't speak for him, pero ano yan eh, syempre ipit-ipit na sila eh. Ito na yung pagkakataon siguro na mabago niya ang history at he be on the right side of the things.
Malacanang has since said President Bongbong Marcos ordered a deeper probe into the case.
Okay, kasi yun nga no, a few minutes ago, we received report na si Atong Ang has already arrived in Mandaluyong Hall of Justice with his lawyer, of course, Attorney
Office of the Prosecutor sila.
Lawyer Attorney Lorna Kapunan to file his complaint affidavit nga no against this alias Totoy, no, denying all the allegations that was that's being thrown at him.
Nag-extort daw kasi initially supposedly si alias Totoy. Ang claim ni alias
300 million.
Ang claim ni alias Totoy, pinapatahimik siya, pero ang claim naman ni Atong Ang extortion. All right, I think we have mobile journalist JF Rivera at the Office of the Prosecutor in Mandaluyong City. He's covering the filing of Atong Ang's counter affidavit against alias Totoy. All right, JF, anong balita dyan? What's happening?
Diego, kakatapos lang maghain ng counter affidavit si Carly Atong Ang. At ngayon ay nagkakandak na siya ngayon ng press conference kasama ang kanyang attorney na si Attorney Lorna Kapunan.
Okay, anong specific charges ang final ni Atong Ang against alias Totoy? Kasi ang alam natin, ito yung issue regarding supposed coercion daw or extortion?
Yes, Diego, kabilang nga yan sa mga isinampang kaso laban dito kay alias Totoy. No? So din, ilan din sa mga isinampang kaso ay attempted robbery at attempted homicide. Kasama na dyan yung extortion charges.
Sino-sino ba, no? To be clear about it, sino-sino yung mga respondents doon sa kasong isinampa ni Atong Ang?
Oo. Una na dito, syempre, itong si alias Totoy, no? Kasama rin dito yung alias Brown. So, dalawa silang isa sa mga respondents dito sa pinasukan ni ma'am.
So right now, ano yung mga katanungan na sinasagot ngayon ni Atong Ang dyan sa kanyang press con?
Ngayon, prepare na sila for press con and ilang minuto na lang or ilang sandali na lang siguro ay mag-uumpisa na itong press conference para sa media.
Meron ba pang iba pang tayong inaasahan na kakasuhan ni Atong Ang tungkol nga dito sa issue ng missing sabongero?
Angela, patungkol daan, abangan natin yan sabihin mamaya ni Atong Ang, no? Kaugnay nga dyan sa mga pandadawit sa kanya dito sa mga missing sabongero.
Alright, maraming salamat sa ating mobile journalist na nandiyan ngayon sa Mandaluyong, si JF Rivera. Dahil nga doon sa nangyayari ngayon, si Atong Ang has arrived there in Mandaluyong City Hall of Justice with his lawyer.
Ayun, suing Lorna Capunan, suing alias Totoy. Saying he did not attempt to bribe Totoy, but instead siya ang kino-coerce for 300 million.
For context, alias Totong or Julie, I forgot his name, his family name, ina-allege nga niya na may kinalaman or isa sa mga masterminds nga ito, si business tycoon, Charlie Atong Ang, doon sa mga nawawalang sabongero. Okay, at may dinadamay pa na allegedly na actress.
Actress and the board, I think the board of directors ng kumpanya nila, Charlie Atong Ang, nakasama dyan. Pero they opted to be quiet.
Yes. Ang sinasabi kasi ng through his lawyer, his legal counsel,
Lorna Capunan.
Lorna Capunan, kung siya magiging whistleblower, parang hindi po pwede yan dahil sabi nga nila, 'di ba, yung mga ganyan na paraan o proseso ay dapat ikaw yung least guilty.
Least guilty.
Kasi apparently itong si alias Totong, according ito doon kay attorney Capunan, ay isa siya sa mga sinampahan ng kaso nga dahil nga dito sa missing sabongero case, at marami siyang nalalaman doon sa nangyari, at apparently parang sinasabi nila tumakbo pala siya ng pagka-mayor, no?
Actually, I think we were flashing a picture na hawak niya yung COC niya. Yan,
hindi siya nanalo, at ang claim ng side nila, ng camp nila Atong Ang ay siguro wala na siyang pera, kaya daw nag-extort. Pero yun nga, on the other side of the fence, sinasabi ni alias Totoy, ay binibigyan nga daw siya ng pera to
keep
quiet.
Alright, in other news, Senate Impeachment Court spokesperson Attorney Reginald Tongol clarified that the certification requested from the House regarding Vice President Sara Duterte's case is not a trap. Attorney Tongol said it is meant to ensure procedural fairness and uphold constitutional standards. Now, this follows criticism from Akbayan Representative Chel Jokno and objections from House Prosecutor Representative Joel Chua, who argued that there is no legal basis for the certification. Despite concerns, Chua said the House may still comply to avoid accusations of delaying the proceedings. The Senate also requires new authorization for House prosecutors as the mandate of the 19th Congress has ended. Meanwhile, the House is considering filing a motion to begin the pre-trial phase where evidence and witnesses will be formally identified.
Now, Senator Risa Hontiveros filed cyber libel complaints with the NBI on Wednesday, calling for an investigation into a viral video in which former Senate witness Michael Maurilio accused her of coercion. Here's a report.
Senator Risa Hontiveros has filed cyber libel complaints against Michael Maurilio, a former witness in a Senate probe on detained preacher Apollo Kibuloy after he accused her of bribery and coercion. The complaint filed with the NBI on July 2 follows a viral video where Maurilio, also known as alias Rene, claimed he was paid 1 million pesos to testify against Kibuloy and was pressured to implicate former President Rodrigo Duterte and Vice President Sara Duterte. Hontiveros denied the accusations, saying she welcomes criticism but not what she calls dangerous lies targeting not just her, but also her staff, witnesses, and even the Senate. She's also asking the NBI to investigate the uploader identified as Pagtanggol Valiente and others involved in spreading the video.
Yung nirereklamo kong pinaiimbestigang fake news channel nagngangalang Pagtanggol Valiente, bagong-bago po yan. Binuo lamang nung June 24, the day after nung mga huling mensahe ni Michael Maurilio. So, hiniling ko sa NBI ngayon alamin sino ba yung pagtanggol valiente na yan, sinong mga tao, sinong grupo.
Hontiveros added that it was Maurilio who first sought help from her office, claiming to be a victim of Kibuloy's church, and even reporting threats days before the video surfaced.
All right, don't go away because we're not done yet. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
Environmental groups welcomed the Supreme Court's move to issue a writ of kalikasan which seeks to halt the construction of the Davao-Samal Connector Bridge. Here is a report.
Some residents of Samal Island and Davao City are concerned about the possible suspension of the Davao-Samal Connector Bridge, saying the project significantly eases sea travel. Travel time is reduced to just 5 minutes compared to the 30-minute ferry ride.
Mas madali kasi siya pag may bridge, unlike this time, no, nag-aantay pa kami ng barge na darating.
The Supreme Court has issued a writ of kalikasan seeking to halt the construction. This comes after a petition by environmental advocates claiming the project harms the environment. The Department of Public Works and Highways, along with other involved agencies and private firms, has been given 10 days to respond.
So far sa ngayon, wala pa tayo, hindi pa natin natatanggap yung writ. So long as wala pang order coming from the court for us to suspend our operations, then we will continue with the project.
Environmental groups welcome the Supreme Court's move. Bridge is part of the Duterte administration's Build, Build, Build initiative, which broke ground in 2022.
Depende na yan, no, kung ano ang desisyon ng Supreme Court. Pero sana ay makita ng lahat, hindi lang ng ating mga huwes, kundi ng buong komunidad na napakalaki ng tulong na ang Davao-Samal Bridge sa ekonomiya ng Davao City at ng Samal City.
The project is currently 38 complete and is expected to finish by 2027. The government has allocated 23 billion pesos for its completion. For News 5, I'm Bril Montalvo. We are One News.
Now, what is the official stand of Samal's local government about this issue? Let's ask Island Garden City of Samal 1st District Councilor Renz Lacorte. Sir, welcome po to News and Views. Can you hear us okay?
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Alright, first and foremost, clarify lang po natin itong desisyon na po nito ng writ of kalikasan. Does this tell us, ito po pang project na to ay hindi pa po natitigil at this time?
First and foremost, I think the writ of kalikasan, part of the decision is that the decision to temporarily suspend the operations will be under the Court of Appeals. And we're still waiting for that decision. As for now, as what the statement of the DPWH, and at the moment we are having our regular session and we have also guests from the DPWH, it's still business as usual for the Samal Island Davao Connector Project Bridge.
Okay. And at this point po ba, do we know any information kung ilang porsyento na po yung nagagawa dito sa bridge na to?
Yeah. On the latest, I think I've read a news report from the DPWH. Almost 20 to 30% are already done. In our view here in Samal Island, we can always see the development in the bridge, especially on our side.
Alright, Councilor, no, given yung mga certain groups are not really opposed to the project per se, but I think hindi nila gusto yung dinaanan or dadaanan ng supposed bridge. Nagkaroon ba ng dialogue between the LGU and yung mga proponents nitong project and these groups initially prior to this? And if ever this moves forward, are you guys willing to discuss ano yung paano pwede mag-meet over in the middle?
Yeah, actually, they are really pushing for a realignment of the bridge because they're arguing that the Paradise Rift and all other areas will be affected. But there's one thing about the bridge project. There is a provision that you create an oversight body led by our city environmental officer here that will see for the body to look into how we can mitigate, rehabilitate, and monitor that the project is complying environmentally sound practices. And it is represented by the barangay captains present here in Aligan City of Samal. So I think the realignment will be disadvantageous to the momentum of the bridge because we really need this bridge ASAP for Aligan City of Samal. We compared prices to Davao to here. We have increased prices because there's high transportation costs, productivity costs. So there's no time to delay this. But as to the concern of the environmental advocates, I think there's already safeguards in the project, and we just have to enforce all those safeguards.
Councilor, yung if ever, no, hypothetically, pag natuloy yung realignment, ano yung magiging cost impact nito? Kasi yung iiba kayo ng direction, tapos yung magre-retrofit ulit kayo.
Yeah, it's a very big backward step for us because I can remember all the preparations for this is not only in the present city council but in 2 previous councils. So we go back to square one. We need to get the road right of ways and all of those properties. So it would be very costly and painful for the economy of Samal Island because we're really there. Right? We waited for this for several decades already.
Siyempre, ang tanong din po dito, Councilor, no, bakit daw po kasi hindi na lang daw tinugunan yung unang naging feasibility study bago pa to ginawa by the Japan Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry or Japan METI na yung Bridgeport daw po. Na mas maganda daw po doon itayo yung i-connect yung bridge dahil mas mababa yung gagastusin at less impact pa sa environment.
On that note, I believe that the local government unit takes full confidence with the technical personalities in leading the project. So there are a lot of studies, there are a lot of reports, but I believe that within internal discussion with all the experts, yun yung na-decidan, and we respect that decision as well. That is the final link from Davao to Samal.
Yun nga po, no, kasi sinasabi ng ibang mga environmental advocates na the mere presence lang po ng coral reefs doon ay dapat na nahinto na yung proyekto pero nagtuloy-tuloy pa rin daw. Your thoughts on that po? Yung pagtatayo po ba nito, the planning, etc., meron po bang konsiderasyon regarding that?
You know what, ma'am? I come from a barangay with a marine protected area. My father was a former barangay captain, and we were fighting for our lives just to protect Sanipaan Marine Park, just kilometers away from the so-called bridge project. The Paradise Reef is unknown to us. It only came into the world with all the references of coral marine diversity just when the bridge came. So that part there is not protected area. If there's really Paradise Reef, long time ago the city already declared that as marine protected area, but we did not because that particular area is not really something that when you say Samal, dito doon talaga yung maraming corals, maraming marine ecosystem. So that part alone there is for me questionable because I know where are the marine protected areas in our city. That is for us in the local that we already know that there's a lot of corals there. So I believe if there are damages, just minimal damages, but we are still very open to seeing all the reports and the technical studies. But again, if there are environmental damages, because that is just normal in big projects like that, there is environmental safeguards for it. We have a multi-sectoral advisory council, oversight body who is in charge.
Okay. Councilor, so based on what you're saying, are you saying na based sa studies, ang napag-desisyonan nyo that area kung saan yung Paradise Reef has the less impact with regards to of course, yung kalikasan natin as compared sa other na pinag-aralan na dadaanan ng bridge. So, kumbaga, yung damage sa tingin nyo is less of an impact.
Yeah. To be very honest, aware of all the reports as to the less damaging, but again, the local government unit of Igacos, the decision of the DPWH and DNR regarding that project. So in any area of that, there is really that damage, but again, we reiterate that there are mitigation measures for that.
Siguro last din lang po, Councilor, ganito pong may mga pag-aagam-agam, yung mga environmental advocates po dyan sa bridge na yan. Paano po ba natin ibabalanse yung economic gains po nitong bridge na to? Well, we recognize po yung importance of development. Of course, yung pagbabalanse po ng economic gains doon po sa pag-aalaga po ng ating environment, especially po dyan sa inyong area.
Yeah. That is actually a major challenge for us as an island city. First and foremost, we need accessibility, especially to mainland Mindanao, especially to Davao City, which is the most progressive economy in Mindanao. And if you link that to Samal, that would really help Samal provide livelihood, employment, and opportunities. But we also take note of the importance of environment. That is why in the new city council and as part of the previous city council, under the leadership of Mayor Aldavid Uy, and now we have a new mayor, Mayor Toto Reyes, we would really give strong importance to environmental policies. For example, we have an environmental users fee ordinance, which we have a lot of budget from it, and we make sure that we are going to put all those funds to protecting ecosystems, especially marine ecosystems. We also are looking at renewable energy and all other sustainable practices for the city, and of course sustainable transportation. So the bridge is there, but we are really ready also to prepare while the bridge is ongoing the needed policies for the city.
Go ahead po. Very quick na lang po, ano po ba sentiments ng ating mga local residents dyan sa area? Are they for the construction of the bridge or against it?
We are 101% for the construction of the bridge. That is the sentiment of the local community in Samal Island.
Alright, with that, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. That was sa Island Garden City of Samal 1st District Councilor. Maraming salamat po. Yun.
Alam mo, we understand the need for development, but there's in previous administrations, kaya nga may studies na hindi napag-isipan yung bridge na yan before is because may apprehensions about destroying biodiversity. Ngayon, inaamin naman ni Councilor na yes, may tatamaan talaga in this progress. But they have mitigations, or not mitigation, but rehabilitation pondo already. But ang question dito is, how much of a damage are you going to rehabilitate and how long will it take to regenerate? Because you cannot regenerate dead corals already,
Kaya nga diba sinasabi, the mere presence of a coral reef doon, dapat protected area na yon kahit na, diba, kahit na wala pang masyadong biodiversity doon sa area. Yun yung sinasabi ng mga environmentalists. And the mere fact na pinag-usapan na pala ito noong 2016, na meron palang ibang way to do it, mas mura at hindi ganun kumbaga, ganun kabigat yung magiging impact sa environment. Bakit hindi daw yun yung ginawa nila?
Dapat
This is
kasi,
actually, pinag-usapan nila, China-funded project under the Duterte administration.
Ang best talaga kausapin dito, supposedly, is DENR.
For context
to ask for the bakit doon ang na-approve na area na dadaanan ng bridge. But in the meantime, Pag-asa continues to monitor the low-pressure area of Cagayan. Now, for updates, we have Pag-asa weather forecaster, Dennis Arestoreja. Thank you.
All right, good morning.
Good morning po sa ating mga taga-subaybay. Sa ngayon po meron tayong update regarding sa ating monitor na low pressure area. As of 8 in the morning ay nasa coastal waters na po yung sentro ng NPA ng Calayan, Cagayan. And this low pressure area has a medium chance na maging isang tropical depression or mahinang bagyo sa susunod po na 24 oras. Nakikita natin naman within the next 24 hours mananatili ito sa may extreme northern Luzon. So most of those areas in northern Luzon, lalo ng Cagayan, makakaranas po ng mga pag-ulan. Ang possible po is around 100 to 200 millimeters na dami po ng ulan for today over Cagayan and some 50 to 100 millimeters naman over Batanes, Apayao, Abra, Kalinga, and Ilocos Norte. Dito naman po sa may natitirang bahagi ng Luzon plus Western Visayas, we have Habagat or the southwest monsoon na nakaka-apekto po at nagdadala pa rin ng mga pag-ulan, especially dito sa may Pangasinan, Zambales, Bataan, and Occidental Mindoro. Possible po yung 100 to 200 millimeters na dami ng ulan. And over here in Metro Manila, we're expecting din po na magkakaroon ng mga paminsan-minsang mga malalakas na ulan. Nasa 50 to 100 millimeters po ang estimated rainfall natin. Kabilang na rin dyan ng Ilocos Sur, La Union, Benguet, Ifugao, Mountain Province, Tarlac, Pampanga, Bulacan, Rizal, Laguna, Cavite, and Batangas.
Yes.
So yan po muna latest. Yes.
Benison, you mentioned kasi, di ba, itong minamataan yung bagyo na may medium chance. Sa bandang, correct me if I'm wrong, okay, sa bandang northern area to, but I understand may habagat din tayong tinitignan or may isa pang weather system sa southern area. Anong magiging interaction nito, if ever, at the most, will they enhance each other?
Usually po, yung mga weather disturbance such as low pressure area, yung mga bagyo, sila yung nag-i-enhance or nagpapaibayo po ng southwest monsoon, not the other way around. So, in this case, kapag mga low pressure area, mga tropical depression, hindi ganun kalakas po yung pag-enhance ng southwest monsoon. Pero in cases of super typhoons and typhoons, dyan delikado po at malalakas po talaga yung mga asahan.
Okay, with that, having said that po, meron po ba tayong gale warning?
For now po, wala naman tayong nakataas na gale warning, pero nasa sa inyong mga local coast guard po no kung magsususpende po ng mga sea travels dahil medyo delikado din po sa may West Philippine Sea.
Tsaka, okay, lastly before we let you go, of course, katanungan ng marami, Benison, leading up to the weekend, kamusta na magiging forecast or lagay ng panahon, especially sa mga gustong mag-out of town?
Yes, kung dito po sa Luzon, we're still expecting na magkakaroon pa rin ng mga pag-ulan. Lalo na yung western sides, itong Ilocos region, extreme northern Luzon such as Batanes, Cagayan, Apayao, down to Zambales, Bataan, and Mindoro provinces. Yan po yung mga pinakang ulanin. For Metro Manila, medyo maulap pa rin po and then we're expecting may mga paminsan-minsan mga light to moderate rains. Ang pinakang makakaranas po ng fair weather conditions ay itong Visayas and Mindanao.
Okay.
Alright, maraming salamat. That was weather forecaster Benison Estareja.
More than 100 police officers raided an event center in San Vicente, Tarlac following reports of an illegal gambling operation. Authorities say the venue hosted a monthly live stream raffle disguised as a legitimate promo without any licenses or permits from government agencies. 94 individuals, including financiers, operators, distributors, and agents were arrested during the raid.
Every month, meron na silang parapol talaga in different places. So hindi lang isang venue yung pinaglalaruan nila. Nung kami ay nagsagawa ng verification sa local government units, sa SEC, sa BIR, PAGCOR, DTI, wala po lahat silang any documents.
Now, for just 20 pesos per ticket, participants were promised cars, land, and business packages as grand prizes. But the PNP-ACG revealed that no real winners ever claimed these prizes and that the draws were all allegedly rigged. The arrested individuals now face charges of illegal gambling under the Cybercrime Prevention Act.
Sabi ng mga ibang tumataya, yung mga nananalo, it belongs to the inner circle. Yung mga hinuli natin. Parang luto na to. Marami ako nakita nanalo ng mga consolation prizes, pero ang question is whether meron ba talaga nananalo na grand prize.
Yan. So, ang style yan is babayad, madami kayo magbabayad ng 20, pero yung nag-organize nito, Sila lang mananalo.
Sila lang mananalo.
Kumbaga, yung event na to ino-organize para sa luho ng mga organizer na ito. Ang galing ang dami
galing
talaga.
gumawa ng ano, no?
Racket
ng
talaga.
racket.
Oo.
Kaya dapat yung mga sinasalihan natin ay talagang binubusisi natin ng maayos. Kasi otherwise, sa dami po ngayon ng mga pwedeng ginagawa na scam, no? Iba't ibang klase na scam na kumakalat din sa atin.
Sabihin mo nga, 20 pesos nga per ticket, maliit lang. Pero nakita mo yung dami naman ng... Kita mo yung venue yung based sa video, medyo malaki-laki siya ng konti. Diba? So, let's take a look. Baka out of this operation, may mga ibang areas pa na nagaganito. Ang question is this a isolated racket or case? Or does this belong to a bigger group? Diba?
Exactly.
Kasi, diba, before STL, yung wetting, di ba? Bago naging legal, naging STL, baka ito may kalat-kalat din sila na ganitong operation.
Totoo yan. And then, yun nga, yung mga 94 na aresto dito sa Tarlac, ano natin yan, let's stay vigilant na baka mamaya
may breakaway group.
Oo, may breakaway group. Or kaya, hindi matuloy yung mga kaso. Kasi ito ay arrested pa lamang, di ba? Kailangan na talagang mapatawan sila.
Alright, authorities are set to tighten regulations at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, turning it into a discipline zone for public utility vehicles. The Land Transportation Office and the Philippine National Police Aviation Security Group will lead regular and random inspections to crack down on contracting, overcharging, and unregistered vehicles. To address inter-terminal travel woes, airport authorities have introduced a free shuttle service within NAIA to reduce the need for paid rides. The Department of Transportation has also directed NAIA's private operator to install visible bus stop signages to help guide passengers and reduce confusion, especially for first-time travelers.
May personal po ako na experience kasi kaya relate ko itong contracting. Although sometimes I am a willing victim at nagbibigay naman tayo ng pero wag naman sana sagad. We are operating based on a complaint and we have prior informations na itong taxi na to nangungontrata talaga. At nagpasalamat na rin ako dyan sa mga barker at saka yung mga kapwa taxi driver na nagsusumbong sa amin. Kaya may konting intelligence information ito na binibigay namin po sa LTO.
Hindi biro ang pagsabayin ang pagiging isang ina at isang guro, lalo na kung kasabay pa nito ang lumalaban sa sakit na cancer. Yan ang pagsubok na hinaharap ng isang teacher sa Cavite na matapos magpagamot ay balik na ngayon sa pagtuturo. Para bigyan ng mukha ang Balita Mobile Journal, Arles de los Santos.
Kung bibigyan ka ng isa pang pagkakataong mabuhay, ano ang gagawin mo rito? Ang isang guro mula Cavite, piniling lumaban para sa kanyang pamilya at para ipagpatuloy ang kanyang misyong magturo. Walang mapaglagyan ang kagalakan at pasasalamat sa Diyos. Ayan ang namumutawi sa puso ni Ma'am Marivic Villacampa, isang senior high school teacher sa Silang, Cavite. Yan ay matapos niyang makipaglaban sa stage 4 triple positive breast cancer. Isang uri ito ng cancer na kumakalat mula sa dibdib papunta sa iba pang bahagi ng katawan. Aminado si Ma'am, natakot siya para sa kanyang buhay, lalo't siya lang ang nagtataguyod sa kanyang asawang inatake sa puso at anak na person with disability.
Na-realize ko yun sa sarili ko. Hindi bali nang hindi ako magpapagamot. Mabigyan ko lang ng pangangailangan at gamot yung anak ko. Priority para sa akin, ang anak ko na gumaling. Pero na-realize ko rin na kung hindi ako magpapagamot at tuluyan akong umalis sa mundong to, mamatay. Paano na lang yung anak ko na ako lang din ang pinagkukunan ng kalakasan?
Kaya may kabaman, itinuloy niya ang pagpapagamot kasabay ng pananalig na siya ay gagaling.
Sinabi ng on ko sa akin na ganito na nga ang sitwasyon ko. Pero walang kagalingan, pero tumawa. Kasi alam ko, Lord, hindi mo ako pababayaan. Ililigtas mo ako sa journey na ito. Sabi niya, ikaw no sa lahat ng sinabihang cancer ang sakit mo, nakangiti ka pa, nakatawa ka pa. It's because accepted ko na nga po.
Nagbago ang kanyang lifestyle, nasubok ang kanyang mental health at kinulang sa pinansyal. Pero unti-unti, nilakasan niya ang loob para sumailalim sa chemotherapy.
Alam mo yun, pag may pinagdadaanan ka palang ganito, napakalakas ng support system para tumayo ka.
Matapos ang isang taong pakikipaglaban sa cancer, ngayong school year 2025 to 2026, nakabalik na siya sa pagtuturo.
Nung unang araw ko, sir, sobrang saya ng puso ko, hindi ko ma-explain sa panibagong pagkakataon, panibagong buhay na binigay sa akin ng Panginoon para magbahagi ulit sa mga batang ito na ginagamit na platform ng Panginoon para higit kong makilala ang sarili ko at makapagpastol sa mas maraming bata.
Patunay si Ma'am Marivic na ang puso ng isang ina at isang guro hindi basta-basta matitibag ng takot at pangamba, bagkus mas lalong pinagtitibay pa. Dagdagan mo pa ng pananampalataya, siguradong lahat ay makakaya. Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
How touching naman the story. Very positive
More
si
power kay
ma'am,
ma'am.
teacher, no? Very positive si ma'am.
Yan ang mga kailangan natin, di ba? This world full of negativity.
Cancer fighters, cancer warriors, positive people.
Mga I remember sabi ng mama mo, cancer champions.
Cancer, kasi you can never really naman defeat cancer eventually. But you can champion it, meaning you don't let it take control over your life. Kumbaga, kahit may cancer ka, hindi mag-iiba buhay mo just because meron. You will maintain the same positivity.
Yes.
And with that, bagay. By accident, bagay itong next quote. You never know how strong you are until being strong is your only choice. From Bob Marley.
Sakto.
Don't worry, be happy. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
I'm Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.